So, hey, welcome to the shop. Jesus Christ, how do you aim these things? Hey, welcome to the shop. Today I want to talk a little bit about toolboxes, specifically this one that I just built, why I built it the way I did, and then kind of my sort of daily carry as a carpenter, and then some of the other tool storage boxes I've made for various purposes. At the end of this, I'm going to throw a build video on for this, and I'll sort of narrate it a little bit to go through my process as far as how I decide how to place them efficiently and in an organized way. So this was my secondary bag for a long time. It's great. It was like 20 bucks at Home Depot. It's got all kinds of storage inside and outside, but for all of my long tools, there's basically just a bucket in the middle. You know, there's free space. There's nothing to organize anything. So every time I needed a hammer, a pry bar, a saw, I was going in and having to dig everything out just to get to it. So I wanted to build something a little more specific that had, you know, my most commonly used tools out on a job site. It's nice to have it this way because they're easy to get to. It's also nice because when you're packing up for a job, if something's missing, you can see there's a missing tool. So it keeps you from losing stuff. It makes things easier to access. It makes working less frustrating. I guess I can go into more detail on like what tools I use in a later video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, what I've done here. So I wanted it all to be I wanted to be able to carry it in one hand, you know, so I have my two briefcases, one for each hand, and then all of my tall tools go in this one. So, you know, hammer, you know, just imagine all of these tools are like a foot long. Just imagine them all piled on top of each other. That was what I was dealing with before. And so now I've just built a slot for each one, and then a lot of the tools aren't quite long enough, so then I built stops so they wouldn't fall all the way through, or, you know, so they would be at an easily accessible height without sticking up too far. Yeah, that's basically it. While I'm here, go into my original toolbox. I use these Stanley, the smaller. Stanley makes a couple sizes, but these are the smaller ones. I like these smaller ones because they hold so many different fasteners. The larger Stanley ones, you only get like 12 slots, whereas these smaller Stanley ones, you have many more slots. So I don't need a ton of any one fastener, but I use a lot of different fasteners on a daily basis. So these Stanleys are nice. You can see I made everything on a little bit of a diagonal, so it can stand upright, and then when I get to a job site and I need to set it down, I can pull this out, set it on top, get to my tools. Got all my most commonly used driver bits and, you know, a countersink. Battery charger is on Velcro, so you can just pull that off, and then the cord is held in by just like elastic cord. Just makes packing up easier. All of my long bits that don't fit anywhere else, pencils, pens, Sharpies. These boxes are not without fault. One of the biggest problems, one of the things that I meant to say earlier is, you know, I use these walking in inside out through doorways every day, so the skinnier your profile is, the less likely you are to bang against a door. And although I love this bag, it is very wide. It's almost as wide as these two boxes put together. And then on top of that, it has all of these tools, very easy to access, but they're hanging off the side, so when you're walking, your legs rubbing up against a bunch of tools, which, I mean, if you do it every day, it gets annoying. And so that was part of the reason for building these the way I did. One of the problems is also it's good feature is that they're low profile, and, you know, you can fit through most doorways without having to do some weird, you know, like, I don't know, setting them down or going through sideways. That being said, since they are low profile, if they were put in the back of a regular truck, they would have a little bit of a tipping problem. I've sort of solved that with just some U-bolts. I've just got some U-bolts that sit there, and you know, now nothing's going to tip them. I did that just in case, because sometimes I do use other people's vehicles, but with my own truck, it works out pretty nicely because this whole toolbox slots in right behind my back seat, and then I've sort of designed it so I've still got access to my drill, measuring tape, most commonly used driver bits in case I need to, you know, screw something off a trailer, or trying to get the most used tools always accessible whenever possible. These were another reason I built my own briefcase in the first place. Is the cabinet shop I work at, they provide you with all the tools, but you know, when you get there, you may or may not have, you know, I got a drill box with I don't know, a battery, a charger, and a putty knife. This one, oh, this one actually has a drill in it, but they're always a mess. Good luck finding the driver bit or the drill you need. So I do it enough, I just figured I'd just make my own and sort of make it the way I like it. And then just a quick go over, if people are interested, I can go into these in more detail, but I did a couple of classes where I was bringing my own tools to a workshop, and just to make things as accessible as possible, and so I could see if anything had been taken or hadn't been put away. I didn't want to lose any of my tools. I just built everything with its own specific slot, and then used spacers to bring them up to make them more easily accessible. It just makes things a lot easier to carry and find. If you don't have some sort of organization, or this is what the other guys will bring out on a job site, all the tools are there. Well, maybe. But to get to any particular tool, you've got to like dig through a lot of junk, and I don't know, the tool you want may or may not be there. So it's nice to have everything organized so you know what's in there at a glance, and you can work from there. The other reason I wanted to replace this toolbox, this tool bag, is because it was starting to weigh, I think it weighed like 45 pounds by the end. So I figured it was time to split things up a little bit. Jesus. Ah, Christ. Each of these weighs about 30 pounds or so. So, not terrible. The box itself actually weighs about 12 pounds. So if I used a lighter weight plywood, it would have saved a lot. But I spent enough time on it that I don't want to remake it out of a different plywood. It's also really sturdy. I don't think I'll ever have any problems with it falling apart or anything like that. But yeah, so I guess I'll have the video after this. But then thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to talk about it. This is what I do for fun. And I don't know if you like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe or do the notification thing so I can do this for life, because I like doing it. But it'd be awesome to not have a real job and to just like make YouTube videos and build shit. So holla at your boy. Have a good day. I totally forgot I had a whole other prototype. Not really my style, but maybe could be good for like a framer or something like that. Drill bits, drivers, drill, spare battery. Who designed this? Charger, and then all your fasteners. Just an idea. I know the handles off center. It's not as you'd probably think it would be like all weird and like hit your leg, but it's not too bad. And if you do it the other way, that way's probably not as good. But yeah, there's that. Okay, bye. Alright, so I don't think I've ever narrated one of my own build videos before. We'll see how this goes. Also, goddamn, I'm next to a really busy road. Anyways, started out with just a plywood, kind of starting to make a chassis. I had no idea what I was going to do, except, you know, obviously it's got to have a handle. And thought it'd be nice I could actually put the saw right down the middle of it, since that tool kind of takes up a lot of space in one axis. Um, realized it stuck out too far, so here I am kind of jigsawing out room because the handle's thicker than the blade, putting a bottom onto it. I decided to do everything with just screws instead of gluing and nailing, because then it gives you a lot more options as far as mulligans. Everything else I make, I usually use glue and nails, and if you do it wrong, you're kind of hosed. Anyways, just laying out all my tools, kind of trying to figure out what the spacing's going to be, how I want everything to be oriented. Jesus, I can't believe I left that in. I've been doing a time lapse. Anyways, I got into my friend's car and bumped my head a couple times. So a lot of these tools are just really funky shapes. So I was trying to figure out a way where they took up as little space as possible. So some of them are actually sort of crossing over from one side to the other. Just countersinking all the holes, and I just drilled them all in from the other side. Got some stops to make sure that some of the shorter tools don't fall down too far. Keep them all. I don't know. I just get super annoyed when things are out of reach. I guess this whole thing is because I get frustrated really easily when I'm working, and so this is my way of solving that problem, I guess. Ripping up some more plywood to make sides. Probably some more dividers for the other side. It's actually really cool working on a toolbox because all your tools are right there. You can work. I mean, I know this is sped up, but you can work really fast when all of your tools are accessible and you don't have to walk around your shop. And I don't know. It's a lot easier for me. Anyways, just doing a little bit of shaping, trying to figure out, making everything fit nicely. Realized I didn't like the way my hammer was hanging off, I think. So I decided instead of putting it on the side, the hammer was going to go like down the middle. I think I actually had to sand off a bit of my hammer. I would encourage you to, if you're into tools and shit, like if you do it for, I don't know, even if you're just doing it as a hobby, do whatever you want with your tools. You can shape them whatever you want to make them more comfortable. If you need a tool that's shorter, I think everyone gets a little too precious with their tools. And as long as they're yours, actually. If you're using someone else's tools, don't fuck with them. But if you're using your own tools, play with them. Get them. Make them your tools. Make them however you want them. And I don't know. I think it makes them a lot more enjoyable to use and a lot more effective in a lot of circumstances. So this side, this whole thing was, I was freeballing it. After I finished this side, I was a little bit, not disappointed. I wish I'd been able to fit more stuff in, but at least the drill bits and the stud finder are kind of an awkward. They pretty sure they stuck out too far for me to. I would have had to notch out the side panel that goes on them. So I just ended up basically cutting out that whole side. And then this, since you have to pull them up, I had to leave space above them. So this side's not quite as efficient, but whatever. So more shaping, just trying to get everything to fit in nicely. So tools just slide in. I don't like it when things catch. Also, I don't know who's listening to this. Someone from DeWalt give me a job. DeWalt or Stanley. I want to make toolboxes. That would be pretty flippin' sweet. It's like my favorite thing to do. Obviously, I don't know, I'm geeking out on this shit. No one paid me to do this. But I mean, I would encourage anybody to do this. It makes working so much nicer. You know, what's more important than the tools you use every day? If you're a carpenter, if you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, if you can make the tools that you use all day every day more accessible, easier to find, you'll increase your productivity, you'll work faster, you won't lose your shit as much. So this was actually quite a problem trying to figure out how to get this scribe jig in. It's an oddly shaped tool that's adjustable. I ended up settling with flipping it upside down and sort of making a cup for it to sit into. Didn't end up getting my laser level in there. Got some hole saws that I think I just ended up putting like a 1/4 bolt at an angle, and they just kind of hang on it. But there's a bit of a flange, so it would be pretty hard for them to fall out. Just hogging out the back side of some 1-inch MDF so I can put my battery in it. Pretty sure that MDF split while I was putting it in. MDF's great, it's cheap and easy to work with, but it's got such garbage strength in the, I don't know, in the through itself. It has terrible tensile strength. Just cutting some holes out. Got to get my tape. I don't know why, but tape is always the tool. I mean, it's like it's always the forgotten piece of equipment. So I wanted to have a specific piece of storage for my tape, because if you got to mark stuff, or I mean that's most of it, what you end up using tape for, but it can be really necessary. And I'm probably repeating myself. One cut, folks. But it's really important to have tape. And then here I was trying to use some. It's actually a nice way to do things in certain circumstances, but just bending 16th inch aluminum to try and get these cabinet jigs into place. But I didn't really like how they were going, so I decided to just cut up some 1-inch MDF and put some slots at a diagonal, cut some grooves in it so they could sit into it, and then even cut the whole thing at a diagonal so I wouldn't have to constrain them left and right. Gravity would kind of keep them into the proper place. Just doing a little shaping. Kind of looks like a face. Kind of putting the finishing touches on everything, make sure everything fits, works properly, goes in and out without a fight. Some of the tools I had to sort of put some screws in so they don't flap around. And then I think at this point it's basically just shaping, just so it doesn't look so, I think it's all rough edges at this point, so sharp edges that'll catch on stuff and just makes you look like a basic bitch. Bust out the router, just put a little round over. If I had thought more, I would have put the screws in further, because I would have liked to have a bigger round over, but yeah, I actually, oh man, that was stupid. I was using a router without a router base right there. Oh, anyways, I guess that's the end. So I don't know. I hope you liked watching it, and subscribe and do the notify thing. And I'm gonna make a Patreon so you can pay me money if you want to, because I don't know why you'd want to, but that would be awesome. Okay, bye.